Your attempts at getting help are either neglected, ignored, or you are further punished for asking.
Please go back and watch the OP. I just adore this creator. She and I have had many an exchange over the similarity of our experiences. And the OP is about the decision to, it was a metaphor about having, comparing being in a relationship with an abusive parent to having a toothache, and whether or not you want to go through the pain of excising that tooth in order to create the scar tissue and allow yourself to heal and move on from that, or if you just want to live with the broken tooth for the rest of your life, which made perfect sense to me. But springboarding off of that point, isn't that funny? Springboard, that's my business, springyourself.com. Springboarding off of that point, I wanted to address the fact that so many of us who came from households like this were allergic to asking for help. And my situation was unique in such a way where I was not allowed to ask for help, not allowed to have emotions. I had to spend all of my time, just as Crooked Counselor said, tending to the emotional states of my caregivers. And I'm including all 4 of my older siblings in this. So my whole life was spent in response to or attending to 6 people, including my parents and my older siblings. And so when my emotions came out, they only came out when they were overflowing, when I just couldn't hold it anymore, because I spent all of my time having to only be what everyone else expected me to show up as. The only time I wasn't ever allowed to be angry, but the only time that I was able to be angry was when I was so angry I couldn't hold on to it anymore. When I was so upset I couldn't keep from crying. And as I am a crier, like if I'm outside of like a small emotional comfort zone, in positive or negative, there's always going to be tears. That's just how I am. It's irritating as hell, but that's it. And so whatever my older sibling needed in that moment, I needed to show up as that. Whatever my mother, my father needed in that moment, I needed to show up as that. And most of the time it was invisible or compliant or giving them glory or subservience in some way, or being a wingman or a designated driver, someone keeping them from feeling the sting of loneliness, or, a validation dispensation machine. Because I was sweet and I wanted them to love me, because they were my idols, all of them. So I spent all my time building them up, doing things for them. I would show up when someone was heartbroken. I would show up when someone needed something. I'd give people rides. I'd lend people money. I'd be the emotional dumping ground. I was a punching bag. I was everything they needed me to be. I was a babysitter, a dog sitter, a caretaker, a secret keeper, a therapist. But you know what I never was? Me. I was only safe to be myself when I was away from them, and I didn't feel safe to be myself because I didn't know what that felt like. So I became fiercely independent. Super independent. I hated asking anybody for anything. And it's so funny because the narrative that gets spun about me is that I'm so spoiled and that I've been handed everything in my life. And I benefited financially a lot from my parents, when I was growing up, because my father, when I hit middle school, suddenly was making all this money and he wasn't used to it. So I traveled internationally and I had my own car and, stuff like that. I was given a sapphire and diamond ring for my 18th birthday. I had birthday parties and, salon blowouts and new clothes and stuff like that. But literally no one asked me if I wanted any of it. I wasn't allowed to have an opinion on any of it. If I was given clothing, I had to wear it, whether I liked it or not. I will never forget showing up at one of my 7th grade classes in some ugly ass dress that my mother was just dead set on me wearing with sneakers. So I was wearing running shoes with this ugly ass plaid collared dress. I mean, it was just awful. And when I showed up, everybody in my class was looking at me like, what the hell are you wearing? And look at my hair. When I was in high school, I had platinum blonde, stick straight hair because that's what my mother wanted. This is what I want, my wild natural curls. But the point is, I had 2 choices, compliance or independence. And I was going to break if I continued to comply. So I became independent. I became the person who never asked for help, who never needed anybody. I was never going to get married. I was just going to have my series of torrid romances and, be the leaf on the wind and not ever need anybody. and I was going to go have my career, and I was going to let people blow in and out of my life as they saw fit, and not attach myself to anyone. And then I met my husband, who was too stubborn to be blown off. He was like, "Hey, you look like you might need some help." And I was like, "No, I never fucking need help." And he was like, everybody needs help. I'm going to help you." And he like forcefully helped me. Before we were even together, he would call me and he would be like, "Have you eaten today?" Because he knew I was broke. He would say, "Have you eaten today?" And I would say, "Well, I had some coffee this morning. I'm good. I had coffee today." And he would go, "No, you need to eat." I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm fine. I'll eat later." And he would go, "Well, I'm getting food for my family. I'm going to get you food too." And I would go, "No, don't get me food. I don't have any money. I can't pay you back for the food. And oh my God, accepting gifts? Woo, never." But he would just show up and throw a sandwich at me. He'd be like, "Eat this." And I'd be like, "What, did you just throw a sandwich at me?" And it was a shell that needed to be cracked. And I still am this way. Like, I don't like asking people for anything, because I just know I'm not going to get what I need. And that's exactly what the Crooked Counselor was saying, is that we've been brought up to realize that asking for help only brings you pain. And especially now that I don't have any family to lean on, not that I could have leaned on them anyway, I couldn't, but now I don't have any family to lean on. So when I ask friends for help with babysitting, or if I need a ride somewhere or something like that, it terrifies me because I know it's just going to push people away. And people see me floating out in the world almost completely unattached because, I have my husband, and, I have some relatives that live across, I have a cousin that lives across the country that I talk to, but like, he isn't really like present in my daily life. That I really don't have a safety net. I have no one around other than my husband. That's it. Like, we are completely disconnected from both sides. And then people look at me and they're like, "Oh, she's just going to take, because she doesn't have any parents or grandparents or anybody to go to," which is the cruel irony of it all, because I'm so uncomfortable taking anything from anybody. When people, even when, my kids go stay with their friends and the parents take the kids out for a meal, I'm always trying to shove money in their hands because I don't like to owe anyone, because that was my mother's weapon of choice. You owe me. Every gift, every kindness, every ounce of care that she owed me, by the way, because she brought me into this world and made the decision to, have me in this world. I didn't choose any of that or ask for any of it. So she owed me. But everything that was done for me was something that was going to be used against me at some point. And so I'm extremely uncomfortable accepting any help. And then I get alienated because people think I'm just going to be asking for help all the time. And I'm sharing this story because, just as I have realized with releasing my books, my poetry books, particularly Letters from the Front, Poems and Trauma Recovery, what I have realized is that I'm like so not alone. I'm so far from alone in this story. A lot of people have read my poetry books and they've been like, "Oh my God, I feel so seen. Like, I didn't know anybody else was going through this." And feeling less alone makes us judge ourselves less. It makes us feel a little less crazy. And I want you to feel less alone if this is your experience. If you're in the situation where you've had to cut off family, you're totally uncomfortable asking for help, but then when people find out you don't have family, they pull away from you because they think all you're going to do is ask for help. You're not alone. I'm in it with you. And if this ain't you, reach out to your friend that always has it together. The friend that's always the one to come to your aid. The friend that's always the one who's organizing everything or seems to be, have a full calendar of all kinds of wonderful and fulfilling things going on in their lives. That's probably fierce independence that came from not being able to lean on anyone. Check on your independent friends. Sometimes we're twisting. And if your buddies are anything like me, I'm an energy matcher. So, if I get emojis and one-word answers, that's what you're getting from me. If you never ask me questions, I ain't asking you questions. I ain't got enough time to fuck around with people who are just trying to use me for attention seeking. Check on them. Be sincere about it. And when they absolutely insist they don't need help, sometimes they need you to push a little. And just remember that none of us are alone.